Welcome to our Young Life Drive-In Banquet. Some of you might be sitting in your cars enjoying some movie popcorn and candy, while some of you might be watching this from the comfort of your own living room. However you're joining us, we're grateful for your time. My name is Susan Nixon. I'm the Area Director for Young Life in Rowan County, and I'm going to host you tonight as we share a little bit of the stories of Young Life and the vision of this mission. To be honest, I wish that we were sitting around tables in the Catawba Crystal Peeler Lounge. I wish that we were sharing a meal together, a delicious meal that if you've been at our banquet before, you're missing the green beans and the chocolate cake just like me. But I wish we were surrounded by beautiful decorations and posters that show the smiling faces of teenagers enjoying the best week of their life at Young Life Camp. But 2020 is a different year, and here we find ourselves at drive-in banquets and virtually online. So I'm grateful for your time, and I want to share a little bit about what we're going to experience and share tonight through our Young Life Drive-In Banquet. Whether this is your first banquet with us or you've been with us over the last 20 years, I hope there's a few things that you've come to know about the mission of Young Life. First of all, we love to have fun. We have fun with teenagers all the time, but hopefully you've been able to laugh a little bit tonight too. Secondly, we value you as adults. Yes, in Young Life, we're known for our work with teenagers, but the truth is we could never build these life-changing relationships and sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ with teenagers without partners and supporters like you. So we're grateful for that as well. We want to share stories of what Young Life looks like during these unprecedented times. Stories from Young Life staff, from volunteer leaders, and from Young Life kids themselves. We also want to ask you to join our team to support Young Life to continue the work of working with local teenagers here in Rowan County. And all of this, we hope to do in less time than it takes to watch a binge-worthy Netflix TV show. We have an incredible group of volunteers that surround the mission of Young Life here in Rowan County. I'll start with our Adult Young Life Committee. These are adults that help support the mission and put on events like tonight. We are so grateful for them. We also have heroes. They're the Young Life volunteer leaders. Many of these folks are young adults or college-age students that give up hours a week to go invest in the lives of local teenagers. Staff-wise, it's just myself and Sam Noble. Sam is in his second year on Young Life staff here in Rowan County, and I would love to introduce him as he's going to share what it's like to be a Young Life leader in these challenging times of 2020.
My name is Sam Noble, and I'm a Young Life leader here in Rowan County. I've been a Young Life leader for 5 years, and 2 of those years have been here in Rowan County at Carson High School and South Rowan High School. Being a Young Life leader is one of the most fulfilling experiences I've ever had in my life. Being able to invest in them intentionally where they're at, whether that means through showing up at their student section at their sports games, or going to their high schools at dismissal and signing in as a guest just to have conversations with them, or even getting breakfast with them at Bojangles before school some days and opening the Bible and praying with them. Nowadays, everything has changed. Instead of showing up in packed student sections, we're showing up where kids work, like Food Line. And instead of showing up at dismissal time, we're inviting kids to go fishing or golfing. And instead of doing weekly Bojangles breakfast with guys, I'm getting involved as a 9th grade guys small group leader at a local church here in town. While Young Life looks drastically different during COVID-19, there's still a need to get up and go and meet teenagers right where they are, to show up on their turf and to love and care for them in the most stressful of times. This summer, sadly, we weren't able to go on a Young Life summer camp trip, and it made me realize just how much I missed it. It also reminded me of a story from last summer with my friend Hayden. We took the road trip of a lifetime on a bus to upstate New York to a Young Life summer camp called Saranac. We parasailed, we skied, we tubed, and we swam in a wonderful lake. And at the end of that week, Hayden stood up and he gave his life to Christ. Throughout this last school year, I was able to walk alongside Hayden in his new relationship with Jesus and continue to build on our friendship as well. Now, Hayden's a senior and he's an active leader at his church, leading his peers and other teenagers closer to Jesus, but only because he first has a relationship with Jesus, and I could not be more proud of him. Thank you so much for supporting leaders like me and building relationships with high schoolers like Hayden. We couldn't do this without your support.
For us, we all have that last normal day that we had this spring. For me, it was Monday, March 9th. We were at an all-county Young Life Club. One of our volunteer leaders, Tatiana, she had just given her first Young Life Club talk. She shared to a room full of teenagers her own high school experience, how she encountered a relationship with Jesus that changed everything. She beautifully took the Bible and opened it up and shared it in a relevant way that kids were standing around after club still talking about. As we were hanging out after Young Life Club, kids were doing all the normal things they usually do. Dancing to a Spotify playlist, taking selfies to post on Instagram, and just talking about what was going to go on that week at school. A couple of the Salisbury baseball boys were giving me a hard time because I had missed their first game, and I had promised that I was going to go see their next home game that Friday. Well, we all know that this spring was unlike any we've ever faced in our world. In the world of teenagers, seniors were worried about prom, graduation, what the next step in their life was going to look like, and juniors and underclassmen, they just were hoping for a normal fall. Well, to be honest, as Young Life leaders, we were hoping so too. We're so used to hanging out in parking lots with dismissal and arrival, giving kids high fives, hugs, introducing ourselves to new friends. That's where we hear about teenage life. We hear about who's starting on varsity that week. We hear about heartbreaks and prom dresses and all the things that teenagers talk about. We really miss that connection just face to face with teenagers that we normally have. As Young Life leaders in the spring, we love to jump from a softball game over to a tennis match, over to seeing the last soccer goal scored. We love to stand on the sidelines and cheer for Young Life friends as well as new friends that we're trying to meet. Those are the things that are the heartbeat of Young Life leaders in the spring that we really missed. Without these in-person opportunities, we went online just like everybody else. Our weekly leadership meeting that we have with our volunteer leaders, we started that on Zoom. We would take prayer requests, we would study the Bible, we would just lament the things that we were missing out on. With teenagers, we also went online. We did things like FaceTime and group chats and trivia nights and Zoom meetings and all the ways to just try to connect with teenagers and be present throughout the spring. But just like if you're working from home, Zoom can get a little bit old. We missed that face-to-face. So as the weather warmed up, we were able to start to visit kids at their work, whether they're working at a grocery store or a fast food place. We would drive by kids' houses and do silly video challenges. We would just try to do things so kids knew that we were thinking of them and that we missed them. This fall, we have been grateful to start to meet again in person. It looks different. It's smaller groups, it's socially distanced, it's things outside, but we've been grateful to offer something every week as a larger group gathering, whether that is a scavenger hunt or meeting at an outdoor restaurant. We've also done informal hangouts with kids, meeting up outside parking lots or outside fast food restaurants just to connect, maybe even play a silly app game, just ways to still keep relationships going in Young Life. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like Young Life Club where kids have their arms around each other and singing at the top of their lungs and hearing from a person like Tatiana sharing her life and opening up the Bible. But in these unprecedented times, we're focusing on smaller groups, being with kids one-on-one, focusing on the relationship between a Young Life leader and a Young Life student. Speaking of Young Life leaders, we are always looking for more adults to invest in the lives of local teenagers. So on Monday nights, we've created a new community called College Life. We meet at a house near Catawba's campus in an open garage and meet with college students. Some of these are local college students at RCCC or Catawba, and some are students that are alumni of Young Life who have been displaced from other local colleges because of the COVID outbreak in dorms. So we've created this community, a Bible study, and a community that's forming of young adults that are serious about their faith and care about teenagers. We hope that down the line, this group of folks from College Life will invest in the mission of Young Life, whether it's here in Rowan County or other places. But speaking of volunteer leaders, I want you to hear from them. I want to introduce a volunteer leader named Sydney and one of her Young Life friends named Jordan, who are going to share a little bit about Jordan's life and what it's been like during the COVID times.
Hey everyone, my name is Sydney and I'm a Young Life leader here in Rowan County.
And I'm Jordan and I'm a junior at Greystone.
So Jordan, I know some of my most favorite Young Life memories that we've done here have been scavenger hunts and fall weekends and camps. Out of all the things that we've done, what has been probably your most favorite Young Life memory?
I would have to say that my favorite Young Life memory has been Windy Gap, because overall it's just such a blessing and an experience to get to go. It's just something that kind of brings you together with Young Life as a community and kind of helps you grow in your relationship with Christ, and it's a great way to kind of transition into being a big part of the Young Life community.
So tell me a little bit about what it was like growing up in your family.
So I'm an only child, which I think is definitely a different experience because a lot of my friends have siblings. So just being an only child, you kind of get a different childhood. But most of my family has always been really close, and we live kind of close to each other. So just growing up with them and kind of having that close family experience and time with them and being able to live close to them has been really good to kind of keep our family together.
So how has Young Life been beneficial to you during your time in high school?
So Young Life has absolutely changed my life in high school. Like I said, it was really scary to kind of start into it because you're getting yourself into an entirely new community that you've never been in before. And I remember the first meeting that I went to was all county, and I actually cried before I came because I was so nervous. And I got there and ended up meeting some new friends that I actually knew from elementary school, and I got to rekindle with them and have a really great time, and that just kind of set the ball rolling for me falling in love with Young Life. And it's just something that is always going to be there for you, to have those people such as those leaders and your friends and new friends that you can bring into it, just as a solid community in Christ that is always going to be there for you, and people that you can come to if anything's going on, and that is just full of love and laughter and just good times all the time.
So Jordan, you're a junior this year in the midst of COVID and everything going on. What has, been some challenges that you've noticed amongst yourself and your peers?
It's definitely been a struggle. Junior year is already, I can testify that it is the worst. And, you don't necessarily have to worry about college in itself, but you have to start thinking about it. And with Greystone being totally online, that's definitely been different, not having that in-person help and assistance if you're struggling with something. So just trying to stay motivated and trying to keep on top of school and clubs and sports and all of that that's still going on amidst the virus and everything has definitely been hard to kind of balance all that and give equal time to everything.
So you have been consistently coming to our Tuesday night hangouts this semester, which has been awesome. How would you say that this has been beneficial to yourself and, your peers just in the midst of COVID?
Well, I think it's, just like Young Life regularly, it's great to have that community that's always there. And especially right now because, some people can't go to clubs or their sports aren't going on, or, based on every family's concerns with COVID, you might not be able to do certain things. But still having Young Life, staying consistent and having that there for you and it being a safe environment, COVID friendly for everybody to come to, is just really good to know that you've still got people that you can be with and a community that's really comforting and gives you a really good time amidst all the stress right now.
So what are your dreams, would you say, for your friends and for Young Life for the rest of this year?
Well, for the rest of this year, it's probably going to be a little difficult because of, still handling the virus and all of that. But I really hope that towards the end and kind of moving into next year, that there's just kind of a wave of joy and hope that everything's just going to be fantastic next year. That if we just kind of stick together and, pray about it and just stay strong in our faith and our community, that everybody can kind of come out better within the next year. And, that school will be able to go back to normal and we'll be able to gather everybody together so everyone can just kind of be like, wow, we're back, and it'll be great.
Jordan, thank you so much for just being real with me and just for sitting and just answering some questions just about your life and your experience with Young Life. If you could say one thing just to our Young Life supporters and families out there, what would you want to say?
I would just say thank you so much for supporting Young Life and supporting people like me so we have this loving community to come to in times like these. So thank you so much.
I'm so grateful for teenagers like Jordan who courageously share their story, and for Young Life leaders like Sydney who walk alongside of teenagers like Jordan every day. Well, as we begin to close, I wanted to open up scripture with you and share a story of what Jesus was like in incredible grief and unprecedented times. So I'm going to open up to the book of John in chapter 11, And we see Jesus encountering a really difficult situation. It starts and says this: "Now a man was named Lazarus and was sick. He was from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. The sisters sent word to Jesus, 'Lord, the one who you love is sick.'" So we have this man Lazarus. He's sick. He has two sisters, Mary and Martha, who are incredibly faithful to him, and they were followers of Jesus at the time. They knew that Jesus loved and cared for them, so they sent word to Jesus to say that their brother was sick. When he heard this, Jesus said, "This sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory, so that God's Son may be glorified through it." Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was for 2 more days and then said to his disciples, "Let's go back to Judea." So Jesus is with his disciples. He's gotten word that one of his closest friends is sick. He stays where he is for a few more days and sets out to journey toward Mary and Martha and their sick brother Lazarus. For you this year, I'm sure that you've encountered sickness in your family or your group of friends. It is incredibly painful, whether it's coronavirus or something else. And Jesus walks with us through that grief. He shows up. He's present. He pursues us. And we see in this story that he shows up to the house of Mary and Martha and Lazarus. But as he arrives, he finds out that Lazarus has already passed away. I'm going to pick back up in John 11, starting in verse 17. On his arrival, Jesus found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. That Lazarus is gone. It seems like Jesus is too late. It says, when Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed home. "Lord," Martha said to Jesus, "if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know now that even God will give you whatever you ask." And Jesus said to Martha, "Your brother will rise again." Martha answered, "I know he will rise again in the resurrection of the last day." So Jesus is trying to tell Martha, no, there's a miracle coming. Something incredible is going to happen. And Martha says, "No, I know he will eventually rise." And this is what Jesus says. He says, "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this?" "Yes, Lord," she replied. It says later that after she had said this, she went back in and called her sister Mary. Remember, when Jesus showed up, Martha ran to Jesus to embrace him and the comfort he was offering. Mary stayed back. I think a lot of us are like Mary and Martha. For some of us, when comfort is offered, whatever that has looked like in this unprecedented times, the year of 2020, whatever comfort has looked like, some of us have absolutely embraced it. For others, we're like Mary. We stay back. Maybe there's pain and bitterness when something comforting has been offered. But when Martha goes back in to tell Mary that Jesus has arrived, Mary doesn't believe that Jesus is going to be able to do much about it. It goes on where it says, when Mary reached the place where Jesus was and she saw him, she fell at his feet and said, "Lord, if you'd been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and those who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in the spirit and troubled. "Where have you laid him?" he asked. "Come and see, Lord," they replied. And Jesus wept. Jesus wept alongside of this family for losing their brother. He walked alongside of grief in them. He entered it with them. He didn't just tell them that things were going to be okay. He sat and cried with them. Then the folks around said, "See how much Jesus loved him." It goes on to say, now we're in verse 38 of John 11, Jesus, once more deeply moved, came to the tomb where Lazarus was. "Take away the stone," he said. "But Lord," said Martha, the sister of the dead man, "by this time there's a bad odor, for he's been there for 4 days." Literally, Martha looks at Jesus. She's like, "What are you thinking? He's been in there for 4 days. Don't open this." Then Jesus said, "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone. Then Jesus looked up and said, "Father, I thank you that you have always heard me. I knew that you always heard me, but I said this for the benefit of those standing here, that they may believe that you sent me." When he said this, Jesus called in a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out!" And the dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with strips of linen and cloth, and all around his face. And Jesus said to him, "Take off the grave clothes and let him go." That Jesus shows up in this incredible moment of grief. And he doesn't just fix it, but he sits with them. He weeps with them. He grieves with them. But he's the Son of God. He's in the business of taking dead things and making them come to life. That Jesus entered their grief, that he performed this incredible miracle, raising Lazarus from the dead. And the truth is, we want to imitate that. We want to imitate the life of Jesus to bring life where there's death. We want to bring light where there's darkness. You know, in the world of teenagers, they're experiencing incredible grief right now. Imagine when you were 17, all the things that you looked forward to, even just on a day of school, being with friends, playing sports, making plans for the weekend. All of that is different for teenagers. We want to follow the model and the life of Jesus to bring light into darkness, to bring life where there's death, to just walk alongside of high schoolers and grieve with them the things that they're missing this year. Like we have said, Young Life will look different in these times, socially distanced and not being able to meet in large groups. But the gospel of Jesus compels us to continue to pursue high school students. It reminds me of a verse in Romans 8 that reminds us that God's love cannot be separated from us. It goes like this: who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Shall trouble or hardship or persecution or famine or nakedness or danger or sword? It goes on to say, no, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loves us. For I am convinced that neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither the present nor the future, nor any powers, neither height nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus our Lord. If you know anything about Young Life, you know that we are passionate that kids would hear the gospel and that we could help them grow in their faith. The idea is simple, but let's be honest, it takes a lot to build those relationships and get there. So I want to tell you about some of the team of Young Life and ask you to join us in your support. We have a dream that every teenager in Rowan County would have a chance to be a part of Young Life and have a meaningful relationship with a Young Life leader. As I've said before, we have a great team of volunteers, our Young Life Adult Committee, our volunteer leaders, but we also need you, the community, to step up and to support Young Life. Every year we ask the community to say, yes, we still want Young Life. We want Young Life to keep going. And I would dare say, is there a more important year to invest in the lives of teenagers, to give them and offer them the hope of the world, that the God of the universe loves them so dearly and that he offers a relationship with them. I think of students like Jordan, that we want to offer the experience of Young Life and a relationship with a leader to every teenager, just like Jordan. And we need your help. We need the community to step up and to support Young Life and to say, yes, we want it. So I want to offer you a few ways to be involved in Young Life. We've talked a lot about volunteers. Would you be interested in joining our Adult Young Life Committee, or maybe even being a volunteer Young Life leader yourself? Maybe you want to help put on events like these. There's lots of different ways to be involved in Young Life. If you're watching from home, look for a link below that'll help you get connected to the mission in Young Life and all the various ways that you can help support and serve in it. If you're here live with us, I would encourage you, pull out your banquet program and also your pledge card. In this banquet program, there's lots more information about Young Life, where we have Young Life clubs, who is on our adult committee, what our budget looks like. And I want to tell you a little bit about how Young Life is funded. The truth is, there is no pot of gold anywhere, that we pull all of our support locally here from donors in Rowan County. We are grateful for the support of churches and also foundations and some businesses that support us. But the heart of Young Life is really our local donors, people like you who are willing to sacrifice so that teenagers can hear the gospel of Jesus Christ. Our budget this year is $145,000, and we have worked really hard to scale back our expenses in these uncertain times so that we can work hard to make our yearly budget. Tonight, we're hopeful to raise $50,000, and there's lots of different ways we can do that. If you're a person that can write a $50,000 check, we would love that. But the truth is, we probably all can give something tonight. I did a little bit of math, and if about 80 of us gave about $50 a month, we would just about be there. $50 a month for us, for my family, that might look like a nice dinner out or a pair of shoes or an Amazon Prime purchase. I know that there's some of us that can give more and some of us that might need to do less. But let me talk to you about two unique opportunities we have, whether you're at home watching this or here with us live. On this pledge card, there's a little bit more information about two ways that I want to encourage you to give. We have been grateful to partner with Friends of Rowan, also known as FOR, which has created a matching program. that every personal dollar given, so that means a check that is written not from a foundation or from a business, but from a family, every check written will be matched by Friends of Rowan. There's more information on this below. All you have to do is write out your check to Friends of Rowan. You can put Young Life in the memo. All of your donation will be given to Young Life as well as a Friends of Rowan match, and we are incredibly grateful for that opportunity. One of the second ways I want to encourage you to give is, would you consider a monthly gift to Young Life? Maybe you came in with a number that you were expecting to give tonight in this fundraiser. I would encourage you, take that number, split it in half, and would you be willing to pledge it monthly? With monthly donors, Young Life can count on money coming in every month so that Young Life leaders and Young Life staff can focus on kids and less on fundraising. So would you consider giving a monthly gift? On this pledge card and online, there's lots of different ways to give. You can give through a bank draft, a credit card, a check, or if you would like to give cash and you're not here tonight, please drop us an email or call us and we would love to pick up your pledge. There's also another way that you can give. If you would like to give online and you don't want to write down your information, you can text the number 55678 and text the word NC81. That stands for North Carolina 81. That is our area number. So you can text the number 55678 and the word NC81, and a link will pop up where you can give safely online for your pledge for the year. As you consider your gift to Young Life this year, I would encourage you, whether you're at home or in person with us, would you fill out the pledge card just so we can say thank you for considering Young Life this year? You have a few chances to fill out what you would like to be involved in and how you would like to give your pledge. If you have any questions about this, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. If you're here with us live, we're going to give you a little bit of time for some music to pledge by, and someone will be by your car to collect it. We are so incredibly grateful for you joining us tonight in this unprecedented times, a virtual online banquet or here at the drive-in. We truly could not do this without you. On behalf of students like Jordan and Hayden, leaders like Tatiana and Sam and Sydney and others, we are so grateful for your support. And we're hopeful that in the future we can be sitting around a table again together and celebrate all that God is doing. So thank you for joining us tonight.